Welcome to The Complete Musician, creativity at its core, exploring innovative musical ideas, thoughts, and techniques for the modern musician in today's society, with your hosts James Nagus and Drew Phillips.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another special episode of the Complete Musician Podcast. I'm Drew.
I'm James.
And we're in the same place
For the first time ever.
recording this podcast. So this will actually not be a Skype conversation like normally happens.
Nope. And this is also a special episode because we will resume with the numbered episodes later. But this is a follow-up to our concert and pre-concert talk special podcast.
Yesterday, yeah. Yesterday, we had so many viewers and so many people who were awesome enough to tune into our pre-concert live stream event. Can't thank you guys enough. And this is almost like an apology episode in which during the Facebook live stream, there were people who asked questions and gave us comments that we never saw until the podcast ended. And that really stinks. And so this episode is going to be answering those questions.
Right. And we just have a couple of questions here that we didn't get a chance to answer. And yeah, just technical glitches. We were just doing Facebook Live for the first time. We're doing the YouTube streaming for the first time. And we're still figuring it out. But we're just going to blame YouTube Live and say that we did everything perfectly. And it was just its fault.
Boo.
So without further ado, let's just get into the questions that we didn't get to answer. And the first one here is from the Agrell Rhodes household, and that is, how do you choose who plays horn and who plays piano?
So if you're just listening to us for the first time, what's unique about us is that we both play horn and piano, and when we write music, we switch off in our performances with each other. For example, if I write a piece for horn and piano, then James will play the horn part, I will play the piano, and then vice versa when he writes. So I guess Sherry's question is, how do we decide on which pieces do we play?
So I think it's really just, because we know that we play the piano parts, like you said, for our own pieces, because I think we know those better. And I think that's really the main question, is that's figured out because we only play piano on our own pieces, because I can't play your piano parts.
I can't play his either.
So that makes the process really easy in deciding, although we've tried switching for hilarity.
I mean, the blooper reel is endless with us just having some free time and goofing off by switching piano and horn parts.
Right, although music is not fun and should never be fun.
No, music is stuffy and classical, according to Jeff Agrell. Just kidding. Yes. That's not at all what he thinks, and you should all go buy his books.
Yes. Okay, next question. Why don't you go ahead and read that?
Oh, okay. This is from Nick, and Nick asked, he asked two questions, and we're going to kind of combine them into one. He said, could we talk about the process of commissioning a work? And in addition to that, when we commission, how do we like to communicate and work with those people who ask us to write for them? And do we prefer to be given a lot of freedom in that process?
So those two questions kind of approach the same thing from two angles. On one hand, you have, if you are actively seeking a composer to write a work. The other angle is someone is asking you to write a work for them. So part one, the process of commissioning a work. Well, I think the first step is finding a composer whose music you like, that you want to write for you.
Yep.
And, that just involves listening and finding music, and if they're still alive and you can afford them, just going for it. As the next major part there would just be finding funding for something like that. Because the reality is that a lot of music is not cheap for commissioning. Purchasing sheet music is affordable, but the initial commissioning can be a little expensive for more established composers. So finding grant opportunities or consortiums or saving money, those are all options. And on the other side of that, though, one thing that's great is a lot of younger composers or student composers, they're just would love to have music played of theirs, and they love opportunities to write. Now, I'm not saying to take advantage of them in any way, shape, or form, but asking your friends if you're in a university type situation can be a great start to that, because oftentimes well, you don't have the budget, they don't have the requirements, for commissioning funds. So that can be an initial step. Do you have anything to add to that, or do you want to jump to the next?
Oh yeah, I to add to that, like I have some students now that are interested in writing, and I think that especially during the university years is really great opportunities to those composers to build your portfolio and just have so much output. We've said before so many times that when you're writing for the first time, or when you're kind of build street cred as a composer, you're going to have a lot of output. Some of it's going to be, especially when you start things, some of it's going to be garbage, but then every once in a while you're going to get something really great. And so your goal is to get lots of great things out and sift through all of the trial and error pieces that you start and finish. But yeah, like you were saying, it's in the university, you just want people to play your stuff, and
composers want their pieces played.
So
it's mutually beneficial.
You just work with each other and go up to your friends and say, "Hey, can I write you something to play?" And hopefully, if they're a good friend, they'll be like, "Sure," and I'll just play it on my next recital or studio class or something like that, or just to workshop it with you. And hopefully, maybe even I encourage my kids to. Maybe even on their own instrument, make a demo recording that, again, builds the portfolio and make sure that it's a great representation of your own work. Because, as you were saying, when you're looking for composers to do commissions, you want to make sure that you like their stuff. And the best thing to do is to listen to what they do. And the best way to know what they do is to listen to good stuff. So, anyway.
And that actually kind of segues into the next part, because one thing when you commissioning a work, an initial correspondence, first of all, would probably be introducing yourself if you didn't know the person, maybe some reasons why, like, I really like X piece, I'm looking to commission a work, here's my timeline, this is when I'd want the piece by, what are your rates, asking that. Or you can say, this is my budget, can we, come to a mutual agreement or something like that. Usually the budget stuff comes a little bit later. The initial contact would just be, I'm interested in commissioning a work, I'd love to talk about it. Yeah. But one thing to be mindful of is that if you commission a work from someone, really you shouldn't be too dictating in terms of what you get. You can have guidelines like, I want a piece for, you can specify instrumentation. I think that's definitely okay. But in terms of content, I would tend to trust the composer and let them do their thing. You're commissioning them because you like what they do.
Right. It's like you asked them for a reason, so you should kind of let them go and do their thing, because they'll turn out something that you probably like since you like their other stuff.
And from a composer perspective, I know that I appreciate when someone says, you just do your thing. Because for me, number one, that's more natural and easier.
Yeah.
And rather than saying, I would like a piece for horn and kazoo in 9/7 time that talks about the struggle of the Arctic penguins in 1723. Something totally bizarre like that.
That would be a really hard piece to write.
I would not accept that commission.
and that's it's just to make a clarification, that's not paradoxical to what we've said about writing. We've said before that writing with limitations is a great way to start music, but those limitations are things that we as composers impose on ourselves, and we don't really want other people to do that on us. So again, the things that I like being told when I'm commissioning is instrumentation, an approximate length,
yes,
and whether or not multiple movements can be included, or whether it should be kind of a straight through thing, is really what I like to be told, and not too much else, because I have the freedom now to come up with something really original and cool from that.
Well, the other important thing is timeline.
Oh yeah, and when is this due?
When do you need the piece? And then you can get into specific things like, is this for a particular workshop? Do you need... The whole concept of performance rights is becoming slightly archaic, I think, where typically, if someone commissions a piece, now you have a year to perform this piece exclusively. I don't know, maybe it's not. Maybe in certain commissions, especially the higher profile ones, like consortiums, that is more acceptable. But in smaller time, you'll have the first performance, obviously. If you commission a piece, you get to, start the thing. But then where it goes from there is usually just where it goes from there. But having a real defined, from a composer perspective, timeline, due date, at least for me personally, helps me organize my time and even just be able to say whether I can do the commission or not, because sometimes you just don't have time to do it.
Especially if you've got a lot of projects stacking up at once, there's that limit of how many you have and how long it's going to take. Like if I were to get a commission for, a big old concert band piece that's due sometime in the spring.
Because you just almost did. I mean, we're both working on active pieces right now. We're considering commissions.
Yeah, so. Several commissions we're considering, and there's one that's coming, that may be coming in the spring if all the details get hammered out, for a big solo horn and concert band piece, and that's going to take a while. So at that point, especially with all the other things going on in our lives, and, as someone who wants to commission something, respecting the composer and not being irritated if they're like, I just can't do it, because especially like us, we have these university jobs that we're kind of taken up with a lot of different things and have our hands in a lot of pots. So, like you said, timeline and respecting their time and being okay with telling them I need it in this time frame, and being proactive enough to ask in enough time, not like I need it in a month. Right. Well, here's an unaccompanied solo that lasts for a minute. Okay, sorry.
I mean, we can both write pretty fast, but you don't want to have to write that fast.
No.
So having it several months at a minimum is good. Some people take a year, and that's just their process. Everyone's different. The last thing I'll say on commissioning is the uncomfortable aspect of the money one, just to throw a couple extra things on there. Because like I was saying earlier, commissioning can be expensive, especially if you're a student and you want to commission a work. I mean, a kind of just very, very general ballpark figure for even something like a solo instrument plus piano can be anywhere from $100 per minute of music and up. Now, obviously, you'll have people that'll do it for less. You'll have people that'll do it for more. And it can get... It shouldn't be uncomfortable to talk about money, but it is. I personally hate talking about money.
Oh, me too.
But you have to think, you also have to value your time and your work, just like anyone who does any kind of craft has to value your experience and your time, and it's what we do. We compose because we love it, but there's a certain degree of we compose also because it's part of being a job as a musician.
Yep.
So I think feel free to speak candidly. I don't think anyone enjoys talking about money, so you're not the only one. But the best way to approach it is first to ask a composer, what are your fees? And then to the composer then might respond, well, what's your budget? And then you can go from there.
Yeah, and hammer out those details. But being straightforward and upfront is better than waiting until the last minute and feeling uncomfortable with it.
There are institutions like ASCAP that have commissioning guidelines, and they have numbers that are industry standards that are, I guess, standards, but they seem high. Everyone will have their own different scale. I mean, feel free to just contact other composers that you know and say, hey, are you comfortable with telling me what I should expect to pay for something like this? Or if you're a composer, what I should ask for something like this, etc. That's all I have on commissioning. Do you have anything else?
Nah, we've talked about it a bit. Let's go to our last question. Our last question from Alicia, and she says, this is our fun one. If you are not hornists, what other instrument or career path could you see yourselves doing?
Oh, man.
I already have a good answer for this one.
Okay, you want to save your answer? You want to go second or first?
No, well, I think I have two answers, because I have definitely a
serious answer?
Well, no, I have like a music answer, and then I have like a non-music answer of what I would not do.
Yeah.
Obviously, we got into music because we couldn't figure out anything else that we'd want to do with our lives that like made us happy, and I think there's definitely an element of you need to be happy when you do your job.
So what would you do?
So so for music, like if I didn't pick horn. Okay, so this has been like a super lifelong dream of mine. And if you know me, you know that I really, really enjoy playing both in a pit. So like in opera and in musical theater pits. And I played so many shows. I love playing in pit orchestra.
So you can play bassoon in a pit orchestra. Is that where this is going?
I would no. Actually, the complete opposite. And I've said this several times to people. If I could sing like really well, I would never play the horn again, ever, because I'm so jealous of singers that they can just create music anywhere they want to, and just like, if I could just like if I was good enough to do like musical theater, it would be like, man, it'd be so cool just to be on stage and have all of it come together and sing over an orchestra and like, oh, that'd be so cool. But I can't sing and I suck, and that's not fair. So a vocalist, that's not fair.
I'm just jealous that vocalist's instrument doesn't count as a carry-on item when they fly.
We should check them into the
Could you please check your voice, like aerial style?
Yeah, that's right. Or we should just shove them into the overhead compartment. So that's what I would do musically. I would sing if I didn't have horn, because it's just not fair.
Well, musically, I would probably actually do something in composition, specifically movie film scoring or commercial composition. And I mean, I guess I do that already, so I don't know if that's a fair answer. But the question was if you were not hornists.
Yeah.
So if I have to pick something completely non-related, I think something in, besides tech, like sound design and mixing and producing, I think that would be fun. Or something in the medical realm, like music therapy. I think that's really interesting and kind of like an emerging field. I mean, it is established, but there's new advancements within the field. So it's very kinetic.
What would you do if it had to not concern music at all?
If it wasn't music at all?
At all. Because I have an answer for that too.
I would design golf head club covers. No.
To go with your great golf game.
Yes.
Well, you are a decent golfer.
No, we've played golf.
Anyone who has gotten a hole-in-one is a decent golfer. It was
luck.
It was
luck.
Sure.
No, I think, at least initially, when I was younger, I thought I wanted to be a chef. I wanted to cook.
Ooh.
And because I love eating food. And I figured, why not just learn how to make it gooder?
Gooder, yeah. Do you want to be the great chef like the great Sherry Rhodes?
Oh. Yeah, nothing. I couldn't top that.
Oh, man.
But then I found out more about the lifestyle and the stresses of working in a kitchen. And I'm like, yeah, no. And I didn't want to just use a microwave for the rest of my life, so I didn't want to work at an Applebee's or an Olive Garden. So that's not going to work out. But yeah, I think something in culinary arts or molecular gastronomy would be fun.
Okay, well, apart from that last word, which I don't know what it means, that sounds really cool.
What would you do?
I didn't know that about you. If I were not going to be in music at all, I would want to. There are two things I'd like to do. One is I would like to write more because I really enjoy writing. I'm kind of a grammar freak, and I know that not all writing is like academic, but I would really like to explore writing kind of, maybe not, I don't know about fiction, but just like, what's that brand of like writing opinion books on stuff? Like,
you want to write your own chicken soup books.
Kind of, like, it's just like, I don't know, that would be really fun to me, is just like writing like my own observances in the world and kind of thing. I think that would be really fun, because I feel like I have a pretty witty style of writing when I do, and I write my own kind of stuff, so that would be something to explore. And the other thing is actually what I was going to pursue instead of music until I made this decision, which I really wanted to go into chemistry, and I really wanted to actually pursue...
Just like Jeff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I really want to pursue pharmacy, actually, because I loved chemistry in high school, and I loved that science, like the balancing equations and like using the mole and all that kind of stuff.
Wearing a white coat.
Actually, I get to be a doctor here too. Yay.
Oh, yeah. Just think how much more cars and houses and student debt you'd have.
How much more money I would make. That's true, but of course it's not for money. But I mean, that would be pretty sweet and comfy, but
it's not for money.
No.
It's for a lot of money.
And I would love to. I wanted to do that, but then I didn't really want to go spend like a really long time in school. Oh wait, I did. But I just, music was so much more. I really decided the turning point was when I realized that if I did an undergrad in like chemistry or something, that I wouldn't be able to play the horn every day or like play music every day, and that was like an absolute deal breaker. So
right. Well, you can rest assured that in a parallel universe, you're doing that somewhere.
I'm way richer than I am now, man. So, I mean, oh wait, excuse me. I have money in that parallel universe as opposed to none.
Oh well, you are rich in musical knowledge. Isn't that worth it?
I am rich in what is it? I am poor in money, but rich in spirits.
There you go. So I think that's just going to about do it for our questions. It's a good thing we didn't answer these live on stream, because that would have added 20 minutes to our already long pre-concert talk. But hopefully this got a chance to answer your questions. And again, thanks for those that did join us and did ask questions. And apologies for these questions that we didn't answer on stream. But
yeah, and thanks to everyone who watched. And please, if you have questions, comments, or anything, you can always email us at our email of koromotohorn@gmail.com. Comment on our YouTube videos, subscribe to us on iTunes, like our Facebook page, Koromoto Horn Duo. You know how to get in touch with us.
And shamelessly share all of that with all of your friends.
Exactly. Please spread it like the plague.
So I think that's going to do it for this, again, quick, not quick episode special. We will most likely return to our normally scheduled podcast after this, even though that's what we said last time.
It is true.
So who knows? We might have 7 more specials before then. But thanks for joining us, and see ya.
Thanks a lot. Bye.